Okay, hey guys, it's Lacey here. Sorry to get started just a few minutes late. We had a little technical glitch to work out and we've got it sorted out. So it looks like Mac in here. We got Matt in the chat box. We have Ron here. Ron, you want to go ahead and say hi?
Hey guys, glad you can make it today. We got some good information. Should be fun and interesting for us all.
Let me know if you guys can hear us loud and clear because of our little glitch here. We've had to modify our audio, so I want to make sure that you guys can all hear. All right, so let's get started on our presentation today. Our favorite tips and tools to transform your health. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we get started, whoops, hold on one second. Okay, there we go. Our disclaimer, all the fun stuff we got to get out of the way first. So we are not doctors. The information here is for your consideration, just as if a friend gave you their opinion. We make no guarantees or claims that using any information presented will prevent or treat disease. Always work directly with a doctor or a qualified health practitioner before making any changes to your diet or lifestyle if you are under their direct care or feel out of your realm of comfort or understanding. And finally, you assume all responsibility for the use, misuse, or non-use of the information stated here. Okay, a little bit about us. Ron, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone about yourself and how you got into health and combined appraising with health.
So, some of you may have already known that I was a health and phys ed major in college, and I went on to teach for several years at a local high school where I had graduated myself. I became an advocate of health. I was always interested in sports and fitness. Um, Over the years, it's been a passion of mine. In addition to being an appraiser, I'm most interested in functional health. It's become more important to me now at age 61 than it used to be, as I see so many of my friends and colleagues and family are experiencing health issues. So that's really been an overall advocacy. I've advocated for health as it relates also to business. That gives them a pretty good background.
Yeah. Yeah, like Ron said, he's always been interested in health. Me, it was a little bit slower starting, but my background is in holistic health. I'm a certified health coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I was also a supplement buyer for Whole Foods Market. I've studied functional health from HNL, which is Holistic Nutrition Labs. I've also studied functional fitness from Equinox. And I really got started in health because I was basically, I was in college in my first year, and I thought it's probably about time I start paying attention to my health. And really, the only way that I knew how to do that at the time was to follow the advice that I saw out there. So that was in magazines, that was on TV shows. And all of the talk at that time was about diets. Cut your calories, pay attention to, your carbs, your fats, your proteins. Make sure you get, if you're trying to lose weight, get 1,600 calories in a day or less. There's all of these restrictions. And so I turned to that thinking that it would get me healthy. And little did I know that it would make me more unhealthy and unhappy and really just miserable. Like I'm sure if you have ever been on a diet, you have felt similar. You just feel like you are the problem. And thankfully, I finally realized that it wasn't me, it was the diet that was the problem. And that's when I became interested in real health and did my studies at IIN and so forth. So that's really our background and how we got started and our interests. So now let's really talk about our philosophy because that really shapes what we're going to talk about today.
Do you want to do a check first to just make sure the audio is okay?
Let's see. Well, I see
Can Steve hear us?
probably those who are in the chat box just need to hit the refresh button if they're not seeing the presentation start. So I'm just going to keep going. So our philosophy, we focus on functional health rather than dysfunction. So a doctor, for example, focuses on disease and dysfunction. And in functional health, we focus on the function of the body, the function of the way the different systems of the body work together and talk together. We also believe that you should eat really well 80 to 90% of the time, right? Most of the time, you should eat really, really well. And that's what we do. We do try to eat really good, although being perfect and being perfect all the time is what can lead to unhealthy habits and unhealthy thinking about yourself and about food in general. So we don't go that extreme, right, Ron?
Right. When I think about health, I want it to be a part of my normal routine. In fact, I don't want to think about it all that much. I just want to essentially do the basics of getting good sleep and managing stress, eating well, so that it works for us. It's sort of an easy approach to health, I think. I'm most interested in it being a functional type of health at this point in my life. And we do live this on a daily basis.
Yeah, we do. And that's why we can live it on a daily basis is because we do allow for a little wiggle room in there too. And we also know that health is individualized, but the fundamentals are the same. So, good sleep, managing stress, good nutrition, exercise, and social connections. Those are all going to be fundamentals to everyone's health, although they're going to vary differently in how you go about getting that. So, that's really our philosophy.
One of the things, a couple of things that Lacey mentioned were about, we both mentioned good sleep and also about social connections. And I will tell you, it's those two have become more apparent to me as I've entered my more mature years. Without the good sleep, nothing else really can go forward. You have to have good sleep. It's just so critical. It's, in fact, I think if I were to give anyone advice at all, would be to manage their sleep as well as possible. Um, when you get a good night's sleep, everything else goes well, mentally and physically. And another thing that has been different for me, or I'm more aware of now, is the social connections. How important that really is. And being in most of us are in our own business. Um, Lots of us are isolated. We work by ourselves. The social connection is really very important to your mental and physical health.
Yeah, it really is definitely. That's why we're doing this outreach in many ways is to sort of bring these connections more together and bring awareness about health and about the importance of keeping good family units, good friends around you, and not just sitting behind your desk, as so many of us entrepreneurs and business professionals can tend to do. Okay, so our favorite tips and tools to transform health. These are our tried and true products and processes. Now, we're not going over every single one, but the 12 that we have here today are really a good blend of our top favorites. And also, feel free to use the chat box to ask questions as we go. We'll be answering your questions in there. So, for starters, if you've been following me for any length of time or seen any of my presentations before, I always say that health starts in your gut. I talk about this all the time because it is so true and it is so important. Your stomach actually has more, your gut, I should say, actually has more, because it also includes your intestines, not just your stomach. But it has more serotonin than your brain, which is really fascinating. And you also send more messages from your stomach to your brain, rather than you would think that your brain might be talking to your stomach more. But that's really fascinating to think about. We always say that the gut is the second brain. Well, maybe it's actually the first brain. um, it's really crucial to have good gut health. This is where it all starts. So what Ron and I do is we focus on, not focus, but we do have lemon water and apple cider vinegar water is what we do now. We have it every morning. This helps to properly um, acidify the stomach. Your stomach is supposed to be acidic. It's not supposed to be um, alkaline. And that's what products like Tums can do, or antacids. They can sort of put a band-aid on it and make it feel good for a little while if you've eaten something that's really irritated your stomach. But in the long run, what you really want is to have a good, robust, properly acidic stomach. So we do, you can do lemon water, or what Ron and I do is the diluted raw apple cider vinegar water. And this can help tilt acidity in the proper direction, like I said. You can start with just a small amount. That's what we did. And you increase it when you feel comfortable to about 1 tablespoon for apple cider vinegar. And you can start with like one lemon wedge, or half a lemon. The lemon can be pretty tame, so you can do a little bit more lemon with that. Let's see, I do have a question here. Can we get a copy of the slides? Yes, Matt, we can send out the copy of the slides, sure. And when you're doing the apple cider vinegar or the lemon, it is normal to have tingling, but not burning. So if you are feeling burning, that probably means you have some esophageal damage from possibly something like chronic heartburn. So you would want to either taper off, or if you do have something like an ulcer, you do want to make sure that you heal that first. So we dilute 1 tablespoon of water in, 1 tablespoon of vinegar. It's raw apple cider vinegar in 16 ounces of water, and we do that first thing in the morning. It's really good to get your digestive system going. And then, as I said, if you do have an ulcer, heal it first. Those antacid products, they do block nutrient absorption, especially nutrients like protein, iron, and B12. So they should just be used temporarily. And then we have another question from Matt. Can we use condensed lemon juice? No, I would use fresh lemon juice. If you purchase it in the store already, it's probably not going to be the proper pH that you want for this. It might even be alkaline. So I make sure that it is fresh, and make sure that the vinegar that you use is raw. Ron, we've been doing this now for a really long time.
Yeah, I never, with all that I know about health, I really was not aware that health starts in your gut. And for a person like myself with a type A personality, very driven, behind a desk, a lot, I sort of at times have put my health on the back burner, um, and it's led to digestive problems. So, now for years, having uh, drank apple cider vinegar water, it really has helped tremendously with my digestion. So I will just tell you, I'll bet you there's plenty of people who are listening now or will listen later that can identify with digestive problems. And so just from a layman's point of view, and what I can say about it, it just helps a lot with digestion in general.
Yeah, it does. Really gets us going for the day. That's for sure. We also do probiotics. So those are the good bugs. They do actually like more acidity, and the bad guys like less acidity. So a lot of times people think of acid as killing things, but actually that's where your probiotics thrive. They're in a slightly acidic environment. So foods that you can add and get probiotics from, I really do like using foods. we do use supplements, but foods is a great place to start. So sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, there's other ones, kombucha. Those are really good sources of good probiotics. Pro meaning good and bio meaning life. So good life, that's what probiotics means. Supplements. One brand of supplements that we like, it is a little easier sometimes to just take a supplement in the morning because maybe whatever you're having throughout the day doesn't really pair well with sauerkraut or kimchi. Um, we do like the Renew Life brand. This is what we've been taking. And I also do like this probiotic tea that the Yogi Tea brand makes. It's a really, really good tea, and it's a heat resistant probiotic, which is pretty interesting. And I was a little skeptical about it at first, but I really do like it. Let's see. Matt says, are there any strains you think are better? Well, Matt, it's really, I wouldn't say that it's any particular strain that is better than another because you do have so many different varieties in your gut. I like variation. And so we'll take the Renew Life for a little while, then maybe we'll stop for a little bit, maybe switch brands or maybe just focus more on food. I like to switch it around, even though people will say, no, it's like just stick with one brand forever. I think it's just the companies want you to stick with their brand. Um, but in particular, or in specifically speaking about the different strains, no, one is not necessarily better than another. They just serve a little bit different purposes. I hope that makes sense. Ron, did you have anything to add? You like our probiotics and sauerkraut and all that good stuff?
Well, yeah, I do. I like the natural food probiotics. Sauerkraut is probably my favorite and helps quite a bit with my own digestion. Um, I really would have. Again, with all what I know about health, it's only in the recent years that I've come to understand the importance of probiotics.
Yeah, I think that, well, and they are still being studied and understood. There's still a lot we don't know about how they proliferate, how they live in your gut, and how some get killed off. It's very fascinating. So, do what you can to promote good gut health by adding probiotics and by helping your stomach and your intestines be more acidic. Matt likes sauerkraut. Sauerkraut and sausage, yummy. Yes, good combo. Okay, the next thing that we do is we have removed daily sugar. So sugar, we all know it ruins your sugar's bad. We know that, right? But when you really know it, that's when it makes you want to actually change it. So why is it bad? Well, it ruins your natural ability to taste and to enjoy healthy foods. So this is how your body craves the food that is good for you, is when you can actually taste clean food the way it's meant to be. I could not, for example, have imagined myself 20 years ago eating a rock hill salad before. It would have never sounded appetizing. I had the biggest sweet tooth. And it wasn't until I finally started making the conscious effort to reduce the amount of sugar that I ate, stop putting sugar in my coffee. And that was a big thing too, because I drank coffee basically for the sugar and the milk. And so I had to really get used to that. Um, but it wasn't until I made that conscious effort that I finally started realizing, oh, I actually do like the way healthy food tastes. I do like the way black coffee tastes. I do like the way kale tastes. So, and then that gets your body used your body will actually crave good food if it knows um, how to do it. If it has, the taste buds stripped away and really at their natural ability to be able to taste those good foods. So you can allow your body to do that. Sugar also, so why is sugar so bad for us? Well, the big physiological reason is that it's going to increase your insulin. Now, insulin which is what makes your fat remain stored in your cells, and it also increases cortisol. And increased cortisol increases estrogen. So it's a vicious cycle when you're always giving your body sugar and your insulin is always elevated. Insulin needs to come out to help push that sugar into cells. So that's why sugar and insulin go together. We could also say glucose and insulin. Glucose is the sugar that's floating around in your blood, and it can't be there. It needs to be pushed into cells. It needs to be stored away, and that's the role of insulin. So this is why it's so bad, though, because having that insulin floating around just makes your fat remain stored in your cells. So it's not going to get out. It's not going to burn like we want it to. And this is why it's so important to remove your daily sugar, your snacks, those hidden sugars that are in there. And we've done a really good job of that, right, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the tenements of health that I have known about for quite a while. In fact, I remember reading an article written by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who talked about the perils of sugar. And I would say for about the last 20 years, I have reduced and my sugar intake dramatically. It's really only when we have our cheat days that I enjoy, some sugar and a cannoli here and there. And I truly enjoy, going on a cheat day and having, something like a cannoli. But on a regular basis, we've really been good at keeping our sugar very, very low. I can't even imagine drinking coffee with sugar in it, like I used to way back in the day. And sugar seems like it's so addictive too. The more you have of it, the more you want. I would have to say that the reason I've been able to keep my body weight at the same weight for the last 20 years, just about, with just little fluctuation, is because of removing sugar from my diet.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really helped us a lot, and that's a good point about how addictive it is too. Shannon says, "Me too. I used to have a little black coffee with sugar. Now I love black coffee. A little coffee with." Matt says, "I'm a type 2 with complications. Sugar is out."
Mhm.
Yes. So those little hidden sugars that get into our diets. They come in sweetened beverages, snack bars, candy. Well, candy's pretty obvious that there's sugar in it. Cereals, though, yogurts. Now, we kind of like accept that they have sugar in them, but really, go for the unflavored yogurt. If you can have some type of unsweetened cereal, skip the candy. Snack bars are just we don't do those at all. And then, of course, sweetened beverages. Those really could be high. I used to drink Arizona iced teas all the time too. And Ron really did get me started on not having sugar in my coffee and not drinking those iced teas, those Arizona iced teas. So bad for you. And then we have another form of sugar, which are the refined carbohydrates. They're not so obvious because as it being sugar, but refined carbohydrates rapidly convert to sugar in your body. So those are the pastas, the breads, and the crackers, etc. And beware also of natural and artificial 0-calorie sweeteners. They can make you crave sugar. So even though you think that you're not adding in any sugar, any glucose, your body thinks that you did. And then when it doesn't get any, sometimes that can make you crave it even more. So just keep that in mind. All right. Third, eat our cruciferous and green leafy vegetables. So,
Let me go back to the sugar for 1 minute.
oh, sure.
So, you really have to be aware of things that you find sugar that it's hidden in, and that's part of what we're talking about, right? And I don't know, I think at this point, a lot of people would probably understand or know, I should say, that carbohydrates are broken down into sugars. Uh, One of the interesting things I read, and this is purely or mostly from what would I say, a standpoint of, well, let me say it this way. I was surprised when I heard that excess sugar breaks down collagen,
Hmm.
and that uh, it leads to sagging skin. So, just from the standpoint of physical looks, um, that's something that I found interesting. that it breaks down collagen and it leads to saggy skin. And you'll see that on people that eat a lot of sugar, whether it's direct sugar or from carbohydrates. I also was surprised, and I only found this out recently from Lacey, that excess protein also breaks down as sugar. And that's something that I didn't know till probably, I think it was only about a month ago, we spoke about. I've always wanted to take in a good amount of protein. I've done the Atkins diet. I've always eaten high protein, and for the most part stayed low carbohydrates. It's just from my background in athletics and also from physical fitness and working out, lifting weights. I was always cognizant of how much protein I would take in. I never gave it a thought that excess steak that I was eating could convert to sugar. So you really have to kind of get your arms around all of the ways that sugar can be broken down, or foods can be broken down into sugars, and the effect that they have on you.
Yes. Now, in my defense, I did tell you before about protein converting to sugar through gluconeogenesis, but it was only until about a month ago that it finally set in and he understood what I was saying. So
I probably tuned her out. We sometimes have to do that, us men with our wives. There's another thing I wanted to say was that I've known people who were hyperactive, who have got control of their sugar intake. And they've expressed to me how much more balanced and calm they are. So from a mental standpoint, I think it also is very important to minimize the amount of sugar you take in.
yeah, it really affects your focus. And of course, you also get that energy crash afterwards when your blood sugar comes back down from that spike, and then you're tired and cranky again. So, yeah, good points. Okay, so on to our green. Eat cruciferous and green leafy vegetables. So this is one of my favorites because I used to not like to do this, and now I find it very enjoyable. So every day, we get at least one large serving of broccoli, kale, spinach, cauliflower, cabbage, Swiss chard, collard greens, arugula, romaine, Brussels sprouts, etc. Those are all part of the cruciferous and green leafy vegetable family they're really powerful because they're high in nutrients, they're high in fiber, they're low in carbohydrates, and they will help you reduce your sweet tooth naturally, or your refined carbohydrate cravings. They really help give you a lot of nutrition and help. I could really feel it when I was cutting out my sugar, that when I would have something like kale, it really made me feel so much settled again, and I didn't want that sugar anymore, which was surprising.
So, I see Bart's here. He got right on when I was starting to speak about cannolis. Probably has one in front of him now. I'm only kidding, Bart. I know that Bart's doing really well on keto. I'm one of those people that never liked vegetables. My mother I used to drive her crazy. She would try to get me to eat vegetables. I was a meat and potato person for the most part. I still am, actually. But I will tell you, Lacey's family was really big into good vegetables. And they always have them on the table. It's a big, big part of their background and meals. And over the years, not only have I now gotten used to eating more vegetables, I actually like some of them quite a bit. And some of my most favorite ones are kale, having a kale salad. After not eating sugar, when I have a kale salad, it tastes like ice cream to me. I like arugula quite a bit as well. I sometimes have some digestive problems with broccoli and cauliflower if they're not really cooked well enough. But today, and for so long now, we've made well, I always have vegetables on my plate, whether I like it or not. But I really like the salads in particular, the kale and arugula salads.
Yeah, we do find it easy to just have a nice big salad for dinner and some meat on there and some other veggies. Barry says yes, and condiments are high in sugar. Ketchup, steak sauce. Yes, good point, Barry. Read those ingredient labels and check for hidden sugars. They're in lots of things.
It's no wonder when I was a kid, in particular, Barry, my mother would say, "Oh boy, you love ketchup." I would put half the bottle on a hamburger, and I realize now I like the sugar more than the hamburger itself from the ketchup.
Yeah, don't do that. So yeah, get at least one serving of these. It will really help give you nutrition and support you in choosing healthier foods and wanting to eat healthier foods instead of those sugary, refined carbohydrate foods. And I say one large serving. I used to say 2 to 3, but people would go, "Whoa, 2 to 3!" But get in one really good serving. Get in a couple servings. The more, the better. Okay, don't rely on caffeine for energy like that little bird going around in circles.
At breakfast.
Yeah. Um, so you want to start with water before caffeine. Your body is going to be dehydrated after sleep. Your adrenals are dehydrated. So instead of jolting them with coffee, give them some water when you wake up. Like Ron and I, we do the apple cider vinegar water. If you need caffeine, that is a sign of imbalance. Commonly, it's a cortisol imbalance because you're using caffeine to jumpstart your adrenals, and your adrenals are where you produce the cortisol. So, if you're looking for caffeine to help wake you up and open your eyes in the morning, that's a good sign that you got to pay attention and you should really cut down your coffee consumption and focus on adrenal health. We mostly drink Swiss water decaffeinated coffee. We do like our coffee, but we drink it decaffeinated so then our adrenals will stay healthy.
The point about having water before having coffee is really, really important. I feel totally different. I actually crave having water in the morning, even if it's the vinegar water, uh, because I feel so much better right after I drink it. And it's a large glass of water. And a lot of studies that I've done on cardiovascular issues, particularly with men, um, they revolve around dehydration. And what happens is your arteries um, harden a little bit or get smaller when you're dehydrated, and that can lead stiffer, and that can lead to events. So now having that water really, I got to tell you, it's like it wakes me up. I feel so much better. And I think mentally knowing that I need to be hydrated before I even drink coffee is something that now I'm very used to, and I want to make sure that I do that. But I will tell you, like I said, all the reading I've done is that you want to get hydrated and in addition or later on have your caffeine.
Yeah, and like I said, we do like our coffee, but it's sometimes not until 10 o'clock that we actually get a cup of coffee. So, and we've been up since 5:30. So it's not a must, but we just really like it. Matt says thoughts on juicing your vegetables and decaf is processed with chemicals question. So with the decaf coffee, there is a coffee that's processed with chemicals, but not the Swiss water decaffeinated. That's a steamed decaffeinated process. So that's why we choose that. In terms of juicing,
Do you have that on the list of products?
yes. Yes, and I do have we do have the bulletproof coffee, the decaffeinated coffee that they make in our list that we'll send you guys to afterwards if you're interested in that. It is a Swiss water decaffeinated coffee. In terms of juicing, you are asking about juicing veggies. So I think that serves a particular purpose and a particular health goal that you're trying to achieve with juicing. So it's not for everyone. I don't think everyone needs to be juicing to be healthy. Ron and I don't juice. We also don't make smoothies. just because smoothies just go through me way too quickly and I never feel satiated after having one. I'm usually starving within the hour, and it doesn't matter if I've added fiber and protein, or how much I've added in fats. They just digest too quickly in me, I feel like. And I wish that they did work, because it's great to be able to just throw a bunch of good, healthy stuff in a blender. But with juicing, yeah, it's great, but you really do want to use organic veggies, so it can be very expensive, and it's just not always practical. But I don't, it's not bad for you, unless you're worried about your blood sugar. Then you probably want to be careful about what veggies you're juicing. Keep it low on the carrots and things like that. Um,
Now, I also like to drink black coffee that has caffeine in it, not that decaffeinated. And from a lot of the studies that I've read, I think that coffee and caffeine actually, I know there's different thoughts on this, but I've concluded that it's healthy for you as long as it's not in excess. And I will tell you, several black cups of coffee when we go out for breakfast uh, sit with me real well. And it makes me alert. Sometimes I kid around with the waiter, and when Lacey asks for decaffeinated coffee, I said, no, give her caffeinated coffee because we got to get some work out of her today. And sometimes they get a laugh out of that. But I do drink black coffee when we're out that has caffeine in it. And it's funny because that little bird that's running around looks like the bird that the other day we have this bird, one-legged bird of all kinds of birds, one-legged one that comes up to us at our breakfast table all the time when we're eating outside. And I've actually gotten this bird to feed off of my fingertip now.
Ron feeds the birds at the restaurant. It's great. They love us there. Shannon says, oops, I drink too much coffee. Yeah, so we do have caffeine occasionally, but it's not something that we rely on. And because at home, when we have coffee, we are having 3 cups. We are going to get some caffeine from it, but it's not a jolt, and we're not going to be sweating afterwards like we did that one time. So, like we did that one time, and we needed rhodiola. That brings us to rhodiola. This is one of our favorite adaptogenic herbs. Adaptogens, they just bring balance. There's more than rhodiola. There's several other that are in this category of herbs that help support stress and energy. So if you're feeling tired, it can help uplift you. This is what the adaptogens do. If you're tired, it can uplift you, but also if you're anxious, it can help settle you. So it kind of brings you back to balance. And you can feel it. So a couple months ago, Ron and I were out. We were having caffeinated coffee and had just one too many cups of coffee. And we were both starting to sweat as we were walking home. And we realized, oh no, we overdid it. And I had some rhodiola in the cabinet. So I decided, this is the only thing I have. I don't know, but we need something because we just felt terrible. And we each took 4 capsules, and right away we could feel like finally we're coming back to normal and starting to feel good again. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did. I kind of get a laugh out of it because I say I want to break a sweat and get my heart rate going sometimes with coffee, but this was a little bit too much. And rhodiola really did help us out. I wanted to say that just recently we've had so much going on personally and professionally. We have a building we're selling. We've been, as you guys know, a lot of challenges with the business, right? Changes, different products bring a certain level of stress that didn't exist before. Quite a bit of stuff going on, and I've been more stressed than normal. And rhodiola has really been a very natural way to calm myself rather than going to reach for a beer or a glass of wine. So it's worked well for me. I can say that.
Yeah, to bring that about stress and getting your heart rate up, that is your adrenal gland working, and putting out that adrenaline. So that's what gets your heart going when it's overworked, and we don't want that. We want to have balance, right? And we want to have a healthy adrenal gland so that it works when we need it, and it's not burnt out, and then relying on other outside sources of energy that are really just not sustainable, like coffee. So rhodiola is really great for stress. And yeah, Ron's been taking it, and I just have used it really when we had that little caffeine episode. But really great product that we wanted to bring to you guys that we use. Another product that we really like is the foam roller. The foam roller, it's like a massage without the $120 cost of a massage. So it helps release the fascia, which is your connective tissue between your muscles and your skin. It also helps massage the muscles and works out the kinks. It's great for the back, for the glutes and legs, which all get tight from sitting. For us office workers, sitting down, we always think of our muscles getting tight when we're exercising, but it also applies to sitting at the desk.
So I was first introduced to a foam roller, I think it was about 10 years ago when you and I went down to help John do his presentation in Florida. Our good friend John DeLemme, most of you are familiar with him. And my back and neck, I've had problems, mostly really related to playing football, I think, particularly my neck. And he saw I was in a lot of pain. He was athletic as well, and also a weightlifter, which I think may have contributed to some of my issues. And he said, "Well, you got to try this roller out." And I said, "What is that?" He said, "Let me go get it for you. It's in the car." He brought it back inside, and we were at a hotel. We had no place else to use it, so we used it right in the lobby. And I got down. I was in a suit. I think one of the last times I was in a suit, and I was just in shock when I heard the popping going on in my back and neck that I had never heard before. I never used a foam roller, and it was just amazing. We bought one almost immediately when we got home. That's how I first was introduced to it. Thereafter, I remember we joined a gym while we were living in Kirkland, Washington, and I was speaking to this woman who was a personal trainer, and she saw me rolling on the foam roller, and we just started talking. And I asked her what she thought about it. I said I had a lot of good results with it. And she told me the first thing that she does with every single one of her clients is to recommend, she believes the most important thing is to do 20 minutes of work on a foam roller, the number one thing. So I can tell you, they've been I've seen a lot of benefit from them, from the use of them.
Yeah, you can really feel it. Really helps release tension in your shoulders, just in your back, and those are those hard to reach places, that you can't really massage out so easily, or you can go pay to have it massaged out. So the foam roller gives you that ability to do it in your own home. Just takes a few minutes, and once you get used to it, it's really easy to do. You kind of feel like a fish out of water at first, laying on it, flopping around, but you do get used to it. And then, of course, that will help you sleep if you're in less pain and discomfort. I've even noticed times where I've been sitting at the desk. I didn't use the foam roller, and I had thought about it, but kind of forgot. And then when I go to bed, my back starts getting a little tight, and I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I should have used the foam roller. Um, so being out of pain will help you sleep better. And use the lower density foam roller instead of those really, really hard ones. The low density foam rollers, they're just better for your structure and for massaging the fascia and the muscles. The hardware ones, I don't really recommend unless you're using them in just like one location. But for overall general use, the low density ones.
Sometimes when we get to the gym, I'm so tight and haven't used the foam roller that I can't even do any exercises without it. And it's almost embarrassing sometimes. I go in a room by myself. Sometimes there's a couple of women in there talking or riding a bicycle because I go into that bicycle room. And I can't even bend down and get on the floor, with almost not flopping on the floor until I use the foam roller. And then I have a hard time getting back up. But yeah, it's definitely a good one to have.
Yeah, you probably need to use it a little bit more.
I think so.
Let's see the chat box. Barry says, hot peppers get my sweat flowing. Yes, they do. I think they work a little bit differently. I don't know if it works on your adrenals. It probably does a little bit.
Good for the cardiovascular system, Barry. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, but it is good for your cardiovascular. I think it opens up your arteries and your sweat glands, which is why. But yeah, it probably gets your adrenaline going too. So then we have another question from a guest. Do you have a recommendation for the roller? Yes, we do. All of the products here we have on Ron's website, the Appraiser Advocate. So afterwards, we'll send you guys the link, and if you're interested, you can purchase. Go right off of there and see the exact ones that we recommend, along with some other ones. Okay, sleep. Number 7, sleep. We have 12, so we're past the halfway point now. This is probably the most important though. Well, they're all important, but sleep is really important, especially when you're not getting it. We get to bed at the same time and wake at the same time, pretty much every single day, which is about 10 o'clock to 5:30 in the morning, even on the weekends. And we do sleep in complete darkness with no lights or electronics. And we also have a white noise fan that really helps to just kind of drown out any little weird noises here. It's almost so quiet here that you hear one little thing and it kind of wakes you back up. So the white noise really helps. Um, and then recently, the last few months, Ron and I, we have really been out of a good sleep routine because one of our dogs, he's
Well,
been,
first starting going to New York, that's I think when we got out of our routine while we were staying on, was it 44th Street
well,
at the
it was even
hotel?
before that though that Cosmo had problems.
Oh, okay. Well, just to go back to the sleep just for 1 minute about it being quiet and dark, that's so important. And when we were in New York, we stayed at a beautiful hotel, but it was at the front of the building, and we could just hear the clanking of trucks going by and cars. That's really disruptive as compared to now. We're out here in Carmel by the sea. It's completely the opposite. But we have had issues with one of our dogs, Cosmo Italiano. Lacey will tell you about that.
Well, yeah, our little Cosmo, he's been waking up in the middle of the night. We finally think we figured it out the last 2 nights that he might be experiencing panic attacks. So that's why he's wakes us up with a loud alarming bark every few hours and pants around the house. So it's been really disruptive and it's also been on and off. So we haven't been getting good, steady quality sleep. And I'm the type who, if I get out of a good sleep pattern, it's hard for me to get back into it.
And I've always been a poor sleeper. Lacey can attest to that and some of the stories growing up my mother would tell her about how difficult I was sleeping. So for me, it's imperative. To me, sleep is like I said before, it's number one. All else starts thereafter. It's the foundation. We could do a whole seminar on sleep alone. That's how important it is, and all of the things that will be advantageous to you getting a good night's sleep. In fact, I think we'll do that sometime. I feel that strongly about it.
Yeah, we have other recommendations too besides here, but these are really the ones that we've been using lately. It's helpful for getting back into a sleep routine. This is what's helped us. Some sleep music. We actually got some on Amazon, and I originally got some sleep music or relaxation music for our dog Cosmo, and we would put it on in the afternoon, and it would actually start putting me to sleep. So this is when I realized, oh, maybe we should get some too. So there is some sleep music. We put on for 10 minutes and then it turns off automatically with the way we have it set up. It shuts off by its own. Um, so we put that on while we're drifting off to sleep. Then we also take minimal melatonin. So this product on the right, the Stress Relax Tranquil Sleep product, that's from Natural Factors. They The serving size for this is 2 tablets, which you can see there in front. I put out the 2 tablets. That has 3 milligrams of melatonin in it. But that little quarter wedge of a tablet that I have posted there, that's what Ron and I take, and we actually even split that. So we are getting such a tiny, tiny amount, and that's really what you want. Melatonin is a hormone, and you don't really want to be messing around with too many hormones. And I can't tell you how many times working at Whole Foods, um, and this is really kind of what alerted me to it, was that a customer would come in one week and get, the half milligram dose, right? They'd start off with a small amount, and then, in the next month, they would be at the one. The next month, they'd be at the three. They kept having to increase their dose of melatonin. And even, I can't find any concrete studies that say this, but it seems that the more you take, the less natural melatonin your own body produces. And this is just anecdotal from what I've seen. And when Ron and I started taking this product, so we started with, I believe it was half of a tablet, because we're not used to taking melatonin. I wanted to start small. So that's like 0.75, 3/4 of a milligram of melatonin. And I would wake up groggy. So we started going less and less and less because I didn't want to wake up groggy. And that's where we got down to just this tiny amount. And that's really all you needed, kind of like a little bit of melatonin to tip you into the right direction and get all of your other hormones going into balance, and falling in line so that you can go to sleep. So that's what we do. It also has some 5-HTP in there and some suntheanine, which is L-theanine. So those are just good for promoting promoting de-stressing, and relaxation. And then this is a new product that we've been taking, is the lavender extract from Herb Farm. That's the little tincture bottle, the little orange and blue tincture bottle there. And that's been really great, right, Ron?
I have Lacey put that in a shot glass for me. I think I'm doing a shot from back in the day. I'm not kidding. Actually, I got to tell you, we do put it in a small glass. I haven't said it to Lacey, but it does remind me of way back when I would actually do a shot. God forbid I would do one now. But I will tell you, it really calmed me down quite a bit. And like I said, we've had a lot going on recently. And recently, I've been noticing the impacts that these kind of products have had. Yesterday, I took some melatonin. We've been taking it, and a couple of times during the day, I had the lavender extract. And last night was the first good night sleep I've had in a long time.
Yeah, with the lavender, I've started taking a little bit before bedtime. Also, I do one dropper full of the lavender in a little bit of water. And what I noticed with our dog Cosmo, starting the alarm at 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, instead of waking up and feeling that adrenaline rush that you get when you wake up, I didn't feel that at all. I felt actually very calm. And so I would get up and come and help Cosmo and try and help calm him down in that. But instead of feeling my heart race and feeling out of whack, I felt okay. I felt fine. And even when I woke up the next morning, I felt pretty good for not having slept much. So that was a good feeling. And I could tell that the lavender was really, really doing its job. Tasted a little funny. It tastes like lavender, but it works really well. So yeah, these are things that we do to help us get back into a good sleep routine. Of course, staying away from electronics at night. That's a good, uh, those white screens, those computer screens and telephone screens that can set off your, um, what's the word?
Rhythms.
Yes, your circadian rhythms. There we go. Can really help, or really, it really helps to avoid those so that your pituitary gland can produce melatonin to begin with. If your pituitary gland is getting that light from your eyes, it delays that process. So,
I think these are all, we're hitting on a lot of things that'll help us. The routine alone is so important, to stick to that routine, and we stick to it every single day. I guess I'm repeating what's on here, but I guess this is what's coming to my mind. It's really worked, and I've seen so many people who think that they can go off on the weekends and stay up much later, and it never really works out for them. I can tell by the lack of alertness, and I can also tell, quite frankly, that a lot of people I know that don't get the consistent sleep seem to put on weight. Right? I see it. It's almost like it's impossible to take off. Uh, when I first really started to become conscious of getting into a better fitness level, it was sleep that really did it for me and controlled um, uh, my eating habits. Yeah.
Yeah, those are all really great points. Because when you are hungry, or when you are on lack of sleep, you are more hungry.
Right.
You're
Carbs.
And then you end up turning to carbohydrates and start eating more, because of a poor night's sleep. So that's a really good point. Let's see the chat box here. Barry said, I stopped melatonin about 3 months ago and haven't noticed any difference. My prostate wakes me every two to
Well,
three hours,
I think I should help you
but
out.
get right back
Prostate.
to sleep.
She can't help you out much with the prostate situation, Barry, but I can.
Oh, really?
uh, Let me just tell you that I have a lot of friends who wake up quite a bit because of prostate issues, right? Which, by and large, affect every middle-aged man and on up. I don't have that issue. I have to say that candidly. Uh, at least not yet. I'm convinced it's because of the kind of diet we have. I truly am. There are some products though that I've recommended, natural products that have really helped out with prostate issues. So if you want, I'll forward you that when we get a chance.
Well, good you stopped the melatonin, yeah, and a lot of people find when they do stop melatonin that then they can't sleep. So I'm glad that that was not an issue for you. They've had too much and their body stops making it. So on to the next one, functional fitness. So this is important. We have the word functional in front of it. You do want to make sure that you're working out at your ability and not doing something totally crazy that's just going to injure you and give you a setback. You are, as strong as your weakest link, so to speak. So work on your weak parts first, and that will make the whole of you stronger. So the simple things that we do, walking 1 to 3 miles, we do that most every day. We walk into town. We take the dogs out for walks. Ron also has been doing the nitric flush exercises, which we shared in the health report.
I'll tell you what, this is a way to take a control of your health, this functional fitness we're talking about in particular. The nitric flush exercises are really important. It is the way to get your blood moving and stop it from being so thick during the day as we're sitting around. It's not good for your heart when your blood gets that thick, and it's all the sitting does your metabolism no good as well. And I will tell you that I've actually changed up and added a couple of exercises to the nitric flush exercises that we've talked about, in part because I have a couple of shoulder injuries uh, that I work around. But they're so easy to do in your office, and the walking as well. I think what we really want to just say to ourselves on such a simple level is we just have to get our bodies moving a little bit more. The gym is another thing that we do go and enjoy. We've taken some time off purposely. Um, we were going at it pretty hard before for quite a while. I felt mentally and physically I needed a break from it. But going to the gym is important. If you can't go to the gym, you have to get some kind of resistant exercises in because men and women, as we age, what happens is we end up losing muscle mass. And not only does it make us look a little less pretty, uh, but what happens is your metabolism is affected as well because muscle burns more calories than fat. So if you want to have a leaner body, you've got to build some muscle. And I will tell you that the past year I did more resistant exercises than I had done in years past. Lots of push ups and sit ups and pull ups at the gym. I'm not so big onto weights. I don't have anything against them. I did a lot of weightlifting in my time. I just don't think they're for me now. Some dumbbell work is good, and farmers walk with dumbbells and kettlebells. Or I'm more into that kind of stuff now. There's assisted machines that will help you do pull-ups, which are really good for you as well. But some of this stuff, or a lot of the stuff, you can just do at home, particularly push-ups, which really I did change my body this year, particularly after the event. And I have found that I'm able to eat more food and I'm not gaining the weight like I used to. I think so. I think that resistance training has made a difference.
Yeah, all really great points about building muscle and how muscle will burn more calories, and getting movement in, especially sitting behind a desk. It's hard to remember to get that movement in, but you've been pretty good, Ron, about doing those nitric flush exercises throughout the day so that you really do get your cardiovascular system going.
What they also do is they force me to get up from behind a desk after looking at these crazy jobs that as appraisers we look at, or any business professional who's stuck behind a desk, and it gives you a mental break. And you start feeling sluggish after sitting down so much, and for me, that can lead to become having a negative mindset. So getting up and doing the nitric flush exercises feel as if I'm taking back control of my day, and that it's just not about work. And these simple exercises, I got to tell you, they give me a lot of relief from that mental aspect. And at the same time, I can actually feel the blood flow going through my body, whereas before I would just felt so blah.
Yeah, and we don't spend an hour at the gym. It's about 30 to 40 minutes. It's not.
Yeah, you don't need an hour.
Yeah, we can have a more targeted workout in a short amount of time. And doing the resistance training and the high intensity intervals. And that's when, you're doing maybe a set of weights, but you do them fast so that you get your cardio in at the same time. And then change it up. Once a week, do a hard cardio workout, alone for just 10 minutes, which could be running fast, jogging, um, doing the ropes, something that's going to change it up and also focus on just the cardio for just 10 minutes. And yeah, that's really what we do. And then end with 5 minutes of stretching, or start or both start and end with stretching is really good.
The last thing I want to just say is, and it's so cliche, but exercise is really the fountain of youth, and it really is. Whether it's just we see, I'm going to say people that are older in this community walking around briskly, some of them with the best attitudes. I mean, I'm talking about people in their late 70s and 80s and 90s. Never mind my age in their 60s, and it really makes that much difference. And we have a saying that I was introduced to is aging is inevitable, but getting older is a choice. And there is a lot to that. There is some aging that's going to go on in the body. There is some attrition to joints. There's injuries as a result of life experiences, right? Lots of our body parts, thankfully, can regenerate amazingly. How much they can once you start sleeping well and eating and doing some exercising. So, and health is wealth, right?
Yeah, health as well. Okay, let's go on to our number 9 slide. Comprehensive blood testing. So this, what I'm referring to is actually just ordering your own blood labs, your own blood work. Ron and I do this through lab extensions. It's actually lab extension, but I always put the S on there. I can't help it. But we do our own blood work because often doctors, they either won't order comprehensive testing, maybe they don't know about them, or they will require you to see a specialist to have the test ordered. For example, I had a client who came to me with what looked like thyroid issues. Her doctor, though, had tested her thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, and the doctor said, oh, it's fine. But just testing that hormone, TSH, it actually doesn't even really tell you anything about the health of the thyroid gland. She then went to further testing, with an actual endocrinologist, and they ran the same test and told her the same thing. Um, what the TSH level will just tell you is the amount of thyroid stimulating hormone that your pituitary gland produces. That's where it's produced. All of your hormones are produced in one gland and then actually used in another part of the body. So the pituitary gland produces your thyroid hormone, and then if the thyroid hormone either can't use it, you're not going to know just by understanding the level of your TSH. It doesn't give you a complete picture. So this is where I sent her to order her own blood work from Life Extensions. And this was after already, she had to, fight with her insurance about what they were going to cover and all of this. And it just ended up being cheaper in the long run for her to order her own testing. What I also really like about Life Extensions is that they will do a phone consultation with you after you get your blood work back and go over those results and explain them to you with a doctor. I don't know if I said that, so that you really have a good understanding of what those results mean. And so that you can, see where, do you have inflammation? What do your cardiovascular risks look like? And really explain the testing to you. Their weight loss panel is the one that I really like because it covers everything. You okay, maybe not everything, but it covers most things. It's really probably the best value for the money. And they have many other testing available. Did you want to say something about the blood test, Ron?
I wanted to mention, I know Steve's on the line, and he's had his blood tested quite a bit. He's more of one of our most analytical appraisers and friends, I would say. And he has found a lot of value out of getting his blood tested. Now, this is something that I really was not familiar with. Most who know me know I stay as far away from doctors as I possibly can get to. And the only ones I typically go to are ones who can help me in a natural way, right? But the comprehensive blood testing is something that will give you that baseline, and I think that is important as you embark and say I want to get to another point. I think it's first it's important to know where you are, and then I think that could also act as a motivation to get to a better point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point is to, it will help you assess where you are and help, you to figure out where you need to be and what you need to work on in terms of your cholesterol levels. They'll test your glucose and your A1C to see what your blood sugar looks like. If your cholesterol is high, it also tests your the lipid particle size, which is sort of the new cardiovascular test. If the particles are too dense and too small, that seems to be what puts people at higher risk of cardiovascular issues. So in the chat box, let's see, Matt said, please forward the prostate nutrient list.
I will to him and Barry. I will to Barry and Matt, and we'll also put a link on our site.
We could post a link onto the Facebook group.
Yeah, we can do that.
Ron could post them on the Facebook group. That'd be a good place. And then Matt also says, Life Extension sends you a report. Yes, they do. They will mail you the report afterwards. Steve, who draws the blood from you to send to Life Extension? So basically, when you order the test off of Life Extension, they mail you the. Let's see. I believe it came to me with just a paper. That's all I needed, and I brought that to the lab. And the lab, it's LabCorp. They did my blood work, and I know in some states, you can't do this. State regulations. There's like 5 states, I believe, that don't allow you to go outside of your doctor's office and get this done. And I believe that New York is one of them. And I'm not sure if New Jersey is. I know, Steve, you're in New Jersey, so just trying to think if it is. But do check. There's like 5 states that don't allow it. But it was just it was very simple. I just went to the lab, they drew the blood, and then mailed it off. I didn't really have to do anything. And then I chose to have Life Extension email me and mail me a copy of the results. So I got them in it was less than 10 days they came to me, so it was pretty fast. We have a guest here that says very interesting life extension. Gonna try it. Yeah, it was very interesting, and then the results that I got back, the details of them were very interesting. And they also do the proper type of vitamin D testing, for example, too. So there's two types. One actually tests for the active vitamin D in your body, and that's the test that you want. And that is the one that Life Extension does. So they do all the right testing. Blood draws can be done at Quest. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if they can. They might be able to, but from what I believe, or from what I've seen, I believe that they just use LabCorp. But I don't know why you couldn't go to a different lab. But maybe they just only work with certain labs. Okay, number 10, intermittent fasting. So, this is probably something you guys have been hearing about along with keto, which we're going to get to next. It has really been in the news a lot lately because it does really works really, really well. All you do with intermittent fasting is you narrow your eating window, just about 6 to 8 hours. Of course, you probably will start out with maybe 10 to 12 hours, for example, and then work your way down. But you do that, and then you fast for the remaining 16 to 18 hours during the day. So when we started doing this, we would eat, or we would stop eating after dinner, and then we would eat normally in the morning, and then eventually now we start eating about 9 o'clock in the morning. We've narrowed it down, and then have our last meal at 5 o'clock. So we do have about an 8-hour window. This helps to normalize your blood sugar, which is your glucose. Helps reset your hormones like cortisol, insulin, leptin, and ghrelin, because you're now, for those other remaining hours that you're not taking in food, your body needs to rely on another source of energy, which is hopefully your stored fat. So it helps mobilize your stored fat to use for energy.
It'll also help in with human growth hormone, the release of HGH, and increase it will also help increase testosterone. So you really want to. I have found this to be just really this is life changing. I was one particularly well before I met Lacey. I would eat into all kinds of hours of the night. It wouldn't even be unusual for me to eat dinner at 9 or 10 o'clock at night after working all day and night. And doing this type of fasting, I don't even think of it as fasting now. I mean, it's just simply the way we eat. It's not hard at all. You just have to sort of get used to it. I mean, I guess it was more difficult for us at first. I guess so. We did a while back, used to snack at night. Didn't think much wrong with it. It wasn't like we were going crazy with stuff, but we did snack. But I don't feel the need to do that at all anymore. That snacking, we eat, pretty much as we want at the dinner. So I don't feel really hungry most times thereafter. And then knowing how important it is, particularly for your hormones. I find when I do sometimes get up and start walking over to the kitchen, I start thinking about what's this really going to do for me? Why am I really looking for more food? And sometimes I'm able to narrow it down and say, you're just a little antsy or bored. And so maybe I'll walk outside or pet Cosmo and Basil, something to break that. But it's this the intermittent fasting is really 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 important, and it's easy to do once you get a little used to it.
Yeah, it really is. Like Shannon here in the comments, she said, intermittent fasting was so much easier for me than I thought it would be. Completely different from the old advice that I used to get about eating small meals all day to keep up metabolism. I really like intermittent fasting. Yeah, I totally agree, Shannon. I was the same way. I think Ron and I too. We'd eat a little here, have a little snack, have a little snack after dinner. Eat all day, and that's going to help keep up your metabolism.
Yeah, no, you
And
have
that's the wrong
very
philosophy, the
wrong
wrong
philosophy.
way.
I think that what happened there with about eating small meals all during the day. Well, let me just say this way: I know a lot of guys that were working out, and me included, when I used to work out quite a bit, were conscious of getting enough food in their body to build muscle. And that probably is true and good for bodybuilders or weight trainers or just athletes that are very very active.
Well, they have to eat like 3,000, 4,000
Well,
calories, but I think it also came from the whole diet restriction. And when you are on a diet, you are hungry all the time. So it's like it sounds like a good idea. Okay, I can eat 6 small meals a day, 6 to 8 times a day, just as long as they're small. But you kind of have to keep fueling up when you're on a calorie restriction. So that might have also been where it came from too. But really the bigger principle here is autophagy, and that is the cellular debris cleanup. This process will really turn on. It turns on, in a normal fasting, but it really gets turned on after about 18 to 24 hours of fasting. So yeah, a full day of fasting, which is something that I never thought I could do until we started doing intermittent fasting, and then until we also started doing keto, which I'm going to talk about next. But I do just want to also mention that with autophagy, and Ron, you had said before about how carbohydrates can make you look older, give you saggy skin, and that. And I'm in a few Facebook groups that talk about keto. And with keto, you also do intermittent fasting because it's just very easy to do. You're not hungry at all. So it's easy to incorporate this. And the pictures, the before and after pictures that people will post there, the people look 10 years younger easily, not just from the weight loss, but also you would expect more people to have saggy skin after losing such a large amount of weight that some of these people go through. And they don't. The skin tightens up, it bounces back through this process of autophagy. So it's really fascinating, but it's also really great for your immune system. So it has other benefits too. Ron, did you want to say something?
Yeah, what I like about the fasting, I actually did it one day this week, mostly because I didn't feel well, right? So I told you I don't even want to eat today. And what had happened is I felt my pulse was high, and also my heart rhythms was not quite, I'm going to say, normal. Um, and I will tell you that I sort of did it naturally, I guess. I didn't feel like eating, but I have done this before when I haven't felt well in that manner. And just drinking water throughout the day and not eating, I found my pulse dropped quite a bit. And whatever sensations I was having, with respect to my uh,
Heart rate.
heart rate, um, went away. So that's part of what I like. I think it just gives your body an opportunity to heal. I guess that's what I'm saying in a layman's sort of way.
Yeah, it does. It not introducing food allows your immune system to do its to really activate, because digestion is the most stressful thing that your body does, which is interesting to think about. And if you're doing it 3 times a day or more than that, it doesn't allow your immune system to fully kick in and do do what it can do, clean up all of those old cells in your body. So finally, ketogenic diet. Okay, so you probably have also heard about keto a lot. I want to get over the conception that keto is a diet. That's why I put it in quotation marks. The it's often referred to, yes, the ketogenic diet, and I'll probably say that many times. But it's really a tool. It's not necessarily a specific way of eating, although you do need to eat high fat, low carbohydrates, and moderate proteins. But it is a state that your body can enter to burn ketones, which is fat, instead of the glucose for fuel. You basically have either ketones or glucose that your body can use for fuel. And this allows your body to actually use this other source of fuel that most of us are trying to use anyways. We're trying to burn fat. You hear that all the time, fat burning. We work out, we do cardio, we do all of these things to try and burn fat. And here is a way to do that by eating high fat, low carb, and moderate protein. And as Ron had mentioned before, the moderate protein is really important because if you do get too much protein, it will convert to glucose. You can't store it all. It doesn't get stored as protein. It will get converted into sugar instead. And so that's why the moderate protein is so important, and why the Atkins kind of got off the wrong way. They had the right idea with the low carbs, but a lot of people just turned it into a high protein diet. And another thing to mention is that it removes your blood sugar from the equation so that you can have sustained, long-lasting energy and mental clarity. I have done keto now for three times, three different cycles, I guess you could call it. And really, every time I do it, I feel better and better and get more and more used to it. And it's much easier to do it every single time. Ron, what do you have to say?
Well, I will say that there's a lot to say about this, but personally, the only time I've been able to really lose this is in my mature years, not when I was much younger and much more active and my hormones were different. But in my more mature years, the only time I've really been able to lean out as well as when I was younger is when I was in ketosis. Because instead of essentially, I'll say, burning what I was eating up that day, what I ate that day, essentially sugars and other things that were converted to sugar, it went to my fat deposits. So it burned, the love handles we get, guys. It burned those. It reduced those, and other areas of body fat where we accumulate. That's the only time I've ever been really able to get to that point. Now, more recently, I hadn't gotten into ketosis. One of the reasons is I had mentioned I was concerned more with building muscle, and so it was kind of counterintuitive to me to eat less protein until I realized, well, I was getting in pretty good shape, but I really wasn't losing the fat I wanted to. I was building more muscle, getting more fit, stronger, etc. But the fat itself wasn't going away, and I realized that I was eating too much protein. So now, when I enter to do this type of eating, I don't like calling it diet either, but to do this type of eating, now I know I'm going to stay with low protein, and I'm gearing up for it. Uh, I'm gearing up for it.
Well, yeah, we really want to do this again in February, and if you guys listening, if you are interested in us doing like a keto program or doing something along, because I could talk about keto all day. There's so many more things to touch upon than just what we've mentioned here, to really understand it a little bit better and understand why fats don't make you fat and don't raise your cholesterol. The last time I did my blood testing, for example, was after I did keto for, I'll say 3 months. It could have been 6 months, but I'll just go with 3 months. And my cholesterol levels were totally fine and healthy. All of my ranges were within healthy ranges. What basically, in a nutshell, what it seems to be is that sugar is what causes the plaque and the buildup and the arteriosclerosis in your arteries, the inflammation in your arteries, not the fat, which is pretty interesting, and also is a complete mind shift from what we've always been told for so many years.
We've had so much heart issues in my family's history, and not to get into them all, but as a result, I do a lot of reading about what's good for your cardiovascular system in either fitness and health and food. Most recently, I read, I think it's the longest single study that was ever done on keto and its effect on the cardiovascular system. This was done on middle aged people, all whom had some kind of cardiovascular disease to some extent or another. And over the period of time of 2 years, the people that were stayed on this type of eating significantly cleaned up their arteries. It was the only such study that was done just to see its impact on cardiovascular disease. Now, for me, like I said, with all of the cardio issues that we've had in our family, that is enough to motivate me.
Yeah, and it is definitely a mind shift. When I first started keto, it was because I was so I was really curious about this whole ketones thing and being able to burn ketones. And I wanted to see, well, does this actually work? Because I wanted to know, would it work for my clients? And in doing so, I also knew that I needed to do blood work along with it. So that's why I did my blood testing. And lo and behold, not only did I really enjoy it, I got all of the benefits from it that you hear, increased mental energy, my mental clarity was just so much better, and lost a little bit of weight. I don't really have a lot to lose, but I even lost weight. But I felt great, and all of my cholesterol ranges were perfectly normal, healthy ranges. Let's look over in the chat box. Matt says, is there a specific fat that should be eaten more of? MCTs. So the medium chain triglycerides, that's the MCT oils. That's a great fat. It comes from coconuts, and they do have some ketones in them naturally. So that's often why you see that in a lot of keto drinks, or like in what's often called bulletproof coffee. You add a little bit of MCT oil and some butter in there and blend it up in your coffee, and that gives you a lot of sustained energy. And those ketones give you mental energy, good for your brain, and um, physical energy as well. But really, you do want to focus on the healthy fats. You don't want to be having like canola oil, vegetable oil, soybean oil. Those processed vegetable oils are not healthy fats. But it is a mind shift, because a lot of people do think of canola as a healthy cooking oil. But yes, butter is a good fat. Olive oil is a good fat. Avocados, coconut. Um, there's probably a couple other ones that I'm not thinking of right now. But you do want to go more to the natural fats and not the highly processed fats. Shannon says, I would love more information about keto. Great, Shannon. We are going to have to get on that, because I really want to start it up again too. And I think February would be a good time for us. And then we have, let's see, Bart here. He says, keto and IF, intermittent fasting, have been life-changing for me. That's awesome, Bart.
How often, tell the truth, do you eat cannoli still, though, Bart?
No. See, when you're on keto, like Bart mentioned a little bit ago, he was making pancakes at the church, and he didn't even want one. And that's how you get on keto. It's pretty amazing. And it's also a very powerful feeling when you can resist food. And it's not because you have the willpower, it's just because you just don't want it.
Bart's, for those who don't know Bart, he's one of my Italian goombas from back east in Brooklyn, who, like me, has a propensity to eat cannolis.
Well, I think maybe you more than him. He put zero. He put zero. He's been doing awesome. Thanks, Bart. Matt says, I find it interesting when I try to discuss keto with my doctors that they really try to change the subject to just eating a standard government pyramid diet. I know. That can be really frustrating. There are actually a number of doctors. Jason Fung is one. He has a ton of videos about intermittent fasting and keto. And so there are doctors out there who do promote keto and can, yeah, I don't know if maybe you have to find the doctor who will speak to you about it. There is, if that's what you're looking for, Virtra Health, VIRTA. It might be VITRA .com. They are a resource for finding a doctor that will get you on board with keto, and is already on board with keto.
So now I have to just get this in there, Matt. Traditional doctors drive me crazy with their inadequate background in health nutrition. They take, I think it's 4 or 6 hours of nutrition courses in college. So obviously, how much could they know unless they went out and they educated themselves? The last traditional doctor I went, Dr. Vince, a great family Italian doctor. Well, he was a wonderful guy. And by time he completed my physical, and I don't say this with any ego, because Vince he also had a propensity of eating a lot of pasta and cannolis, and he was asking me what I ate to stay in pretty good shape. So, yeah, I find the standard government pyramid diet. Let's not even go where that's gotten us in terms of health as a nation, right?
Yeah, there are, though, more and more doctors who are getting on board. I think that you can't ignore the science and you can't ignore just the results and the anecdotes. The actual people doing it and going through it, relieving their joint pain, inflammation, and losing weight, and then not having high cholesterol from it, having normal healthy ranges, even bringing their cholesterol levels down. So you really can't ignore all of this, all of the results that are out there. Um,
Bart made
Bart said that he made Zeppoli
Zeppelis
for
but
Christmas.
didn't
Did
eat
he?
them.
Awesome, Bart. And Matt said, yep, he was agreeing with you, Ron. And he says, because of my insurance, I can't go to non-traditional alternative doctors. Yeah,
That's a
that's
shame, but
that.
it's the
Yeah,
truth.
that is
Yeah.
a shame. And
We've Prior to, well, I haven't been to many doctors, quite honestly, in my life. It's just the way it's been, thankfully. Uh, and every time, the times I have gone have been, other than Vince, and that was many years ago now, probably 15. I've gone to non-traditional alternative doctors, and we've had to pay out of our pocket. You know, that's a shame of it. That may change someday. I don't know.
all right, so on to our final slide. We get wrapped up here. Healthy mindset. This is so important. Of course, all of the physical stuff, the food and sleep is great, and then you also have to have your mind in the right place. So just realize, just keep in mind that health, just like business, it's about personal growth. It's about growing. Your health is a journey. It's not a destination. So you will always be getting healthy. It's always going to be something that you're working towards. And start wherever you are at. You don't have to take every supplement, every healthy thing. Go on a binge. That's usually, a health binge. That's usually when you burn out after a week or 2 weeks, and you go, "Oh my gosh, this was terrible." And then you have a cabinet full of stuff that you're never going to use and wasted your money on. So just start with wherever you're at, one thing at a time. What's the most pressing thing? What is that one thing that really you should be doing and aren't doing. Um, and all of this, keep in mind what we're trying to do is build a body of resilience, not a body of resistance where, you have like a bubble around you, but a body that can handle things, handle threats, handle stress, and bounce back, handle gluten and not break down. Um, that's really, the healthy mindset that we're going for.
Yes, also true. We want to take control of our health. The reason we started, why we're doing this um, program today, and while we wrote the report, um, the Healthy Solutions for Appraisers, why prioritizing health can help you and your business, right? It's not only intended for appraisers, it's intended for professionals that sit a lot. If you could be a professional, trainer, fitness trainer, you really don't need this course, right? Not the same thing. But when you sit behind a desk, as we as appraisers and many other professionals do, we really have to make some changes. I think collectively, our intention is to bring health and business and make them connected, right? Um, I think that's really the whole purpose. And I suppose we'll be doing more of these, right? Um, your health is your wealth. I'm reading from our report that we wrote. And your business success is dependent on you being healthy and able to operate consistently at a high level. And I conclude in this report that to take care of yourself so that you can have a successful business that takes care of you. All of you people on the line get that, and that's why you're here. One of the things I really want to express to you is this. Lacey hit on it a little bit, and that's just starting where you're at and taking control. And honestly, as corny as this may sound, I'd like you to today take control of your health like you never did before, along with us. In fact, I think um, when you have dates like this and times, these are good springboards for better health. I find, unfortunately, too many of my friends and colleagues are down on themselves because they've neglected their health. We all have it one point or another. They've had health issues, you know, and it can be depressing, right? What is really so awesome, though, is about when you have a healthy mindset and you make a decision and then take action, you can have dramatic change quickly, not overnight, but really quickly. And if you start with a healthy mindset, like today when we get off the phone, and you just say to yourself, look what I did for myself today. I took this seminar, I'll call it. I did that for myself, okay, for nobody else really. Other people can benefit from it, but it's really for you. Today, I could just take what I learned and what I already know, and I can change my life. I can totally change my life, no matter where you're at. I've experienced and seen this firsthand. I'm not going to get into all the stories. Some of you have heard them, but I've seen people totally change their life. It starts with some knowledge that you already have. Then you have to make a decision to change and to do what you know is right, and you have to take action. And I really mean this all so sincerely. It's so motivating to me. It's really why we did this presentation. Is I really want to invite you guys to start anew today, no matter where you're at. Even if you're in great health, you can be in even better health. And if you're really at the low end of the totem pole and you're experiencing a lot of health issues, let me tell you, you can change that. Like I said, real quickly. Have that healthy mindset and put into action what we've learned today.
Wow, Ron, that was really powerful. Good stuff.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, go ahead, type them in the chat box. Let us know. We'll wrap up with some Q&A here. Lastly, you can find the links to our favorite products here. We will also send out this link in our replay email. It's at the website is theappraiseradvocate.com/health/products. Let's see in the chat box. Matt said, because of my insurance, I can't. Oh, okay. Nutritionist is a good alternative if your insurance allows, if insurance allows. Yeah, you could go to a nutritionist. Barry says, my primary care doctor also has a naturopath and an acupuncturist in the clinic. Yeah, you're in Seattle. You're in that yeah, right. Granola area. They got all that going on there, don't they?
That's where I saw my naturopaths. I call them natural doctors. I guess they're used interchangeable, right? But boy, our Seattle area is loaded with them.
And also, you might even be able to find one asking around. You'd be surprised. I was able to find a more natural doctor through our traditional health insurance by asking in our Facebook group, in a Facebook group that I had with our local community when we were living in Washington, and they gave me some good recommendations. So there are doctors out there who are more towards the natural, the natural. Way of thinking rather than the traditional American way of thinking. Matt says, thanks, Uncle Ron and Aunt Lacey. You're welcome, Matt. Any more questions before we go? Let us know. If you guys are not in the health group, we are on Facebook. It is facebook.com/groups/health and business advocate. That's where you will find our Facebook group where we talk all about health and promote health for business success.
Health for business success. Thank you so much, guys. It's really enjoyable spending part of our Saturday with you. We're so happy that we can share what's worked well for us, and it's also motivating to have other like-minded people involved with us as well. So thank you for your participation.
Yeah, thanks. Shannon says thanks. It looks like that's all of the questions. So thank you everyone for being here with us today and asking your questions and your participation. We'll see you on the Facebook group. All right. Bye, everybody.